back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thanks for sticking with us through that brief break. And we are back with the official English broadcast of the Overwatch Pacific Championship. Steering you through the rest of the night will be myself, Matt Pixie Carroll, and joining me to ably boatswain the ship is Matt Smite Ross.
Hi there.
Yeah, we're about to be covered right on up with SunSister versus Fireball. So let's take a little bit of a look at Fireball.
Ah, ผมชื่อพีทนะครับครับก็จุดเด่นของทีมเนี่ยที่สังเกตได้ชัดเลยคือทุกคนในทีมค่อนข้างเป็นคนที่อารมณ์ดีมี attitude ที่ค่อนข้างดีการก็รู้สึกเป็นพี่เป็นน้องมากกว่าครับเรื่องทีมเวิร์กก็ต้องปรับตัวไปเรื่อยๆก็รู้สึกกดดันนะครับเพราะว่าในไทยก็ยังมีผู้เล่นอีกมากมายแต่ว่าในการที่เพื่อนร่วมทีมเลือกผมก็ตั้งใจทำเต็มที่แล้วคิดว่าตัวเองมีความสามารถพออยากเป็นผู้เล่นที่ดีที่สุดในงานนี้เลยครับฝากติดตามผลงานกันต่อไปนะครับก็ขอบคุณทุกกำลังใจที่ส่งมาครับผมก็สู้ๆครับผมหวังว่าทีมเราเนี่ยจะสามารถคว้าชัยชนะมาได้แล้วเอาชื่อเสียงเนี่ยกลับไปให้คนไทยทั้งประเทศนะครับให้ช่วยส่งกำลังใจเชียร์ด้วยแล้วกันนะครับผมเราจะทำให้ดีที่สุดครับเราจะทำให้ประเทศไทยมีชื่อเสียงมากกว่านี้ครับ
Well, that's Fireball for you. It's so hard not to like those guys.
I love these guys.
They're so cool.
I love their team icon as well. It's a fat guy.
It's just a fat guy on fire. It's so great.
Best.
Yeah, but then just the whole attitude is like, yeah, we're just cool people. But let's take a look at SunSister, who they'll be playing off against.
と申します。最初にチームを作るってなった時に私と同じ作り始めて、それからメンバーを募集してという形になりますね。SunSister の有利な点としましては、むしろチームメンバーの仲がとてもいいので、そのチームワークに注目していただきたいです。僕たちの武器、メンタル、諦めない気持ち、日本から同じく代表として出場するデトネーター、ゴールドさんに負けたくないっていう気持ちはとても強くあります。での目標はもちろん優勝することです。目標は優勝です。もちろん優勝はしたいと。もうそれは一番ですけど、一戦一戦本気でやりたいですね。終わった時に練習が足りなかったとか、その納得してもし勝ち負け置いといて納得した試合ができるように頑張りたいです。
Well, that's SunSister for you. They're so polite.
I mean, you talk about...
They're like, please like us.
You talk about how it's hard to not support Fireball. Same thing for SunSister.
These guys harder.
These guys are all so humble, right? I mean, SunSister, their motto is literally the power of friendship. And that is beautiful, I've got to say.
If only we could tap into that power. Well, it's going to be SunSister, who are fresh off a loss coming into this. So they went down to AHQ, who secured themselves two pretty tidy victories. The first one, though, was a little bit harder. So to kind of go quickly retrospective, props to AHQ for kind of getting their way through what was quite a long series at the top of the night against Hong Kong Attitude. They actually reverse swept that one. So good performance by them and a commanding set of wins to close it out. And then even more commanding the whole way through against SunSister. So I'm not going to beat about the bush here. SunSister, they got absolutely destroyed in that match. They have a lot to recover from. And we talked about this quite a bit yesterday, where Flash Wolves were in the same situation, and then Machi Esports immediately after them. Both were able to recover. So now let's see if SunSister can join that camp of teams with the mental fortitude to come back from a loss.
I mean, SunSister in their intro video as well, they talk about taking everything one game at a time, and that's, at this moment, the best attitude absolutely to take. Because, I mean, you've already lost the best of 5, which cannot be good for you morally. So you've just got to brush that aside for now, think about it later, and worry about the games ahead of you right now. And to put this quite lightly, this is a very important matchup because neither of these teams have actually won a series yet.
Not so much, no.
Someone's got to be a winner after this one.
It's going to change, exactly. And it's quite an interesting one as well because these are two such likable teams. I feel bad whenever these guys lose, and they've lost a lot. So hey, it's going to start turning around for one of them, and it'll be interesting if it is SunSister, right? For the exact reasons I've just said. You know, it shows their ability to kind of turn it around, have that mental fortitude, and it's something that they feel they have as well. Like you said, the one game at a time attitude, and that does seem to have been true for them so far. I mean, the fact that they are still coming to play and they still seem to have pretty positive attitudes, you know, sitting at the bottom of the tables. Fireball, the other side of that, who I feel have a lot more unknowns about them.
Fireball as well, just to jump onto that straight away, is I feel like they've got a lot of pressure on them too, because being a big favorite team from Thailand, they've got a big fan following. I actually watch some of the viewer chat quite a lot, and there's a lot of support for these guys.
Hi Fireball fans on Twitch.
Hi Fireball fans, this is for you guys.
Yeah.
But Apudo, NZNR, both fantastic DPS players, and we've seen them before in previous tournaments where they have actually performed quite well, sometimes at the top of the table. But so far, on a team that is yet to win a series, they've got a lot of pressure to perform, and that's just on the DPS players. It's of course the case as well for the rest of the team, but a lot of the time pressure really falls onto the guys who've got to do the killing.
Oh yeah, and notably among them is of course Apudo. A person we identified as a bit of a superstar coming into this. I mean, during the summer series, which is where we last saw his gameplay, he was a member of MA Lakers who kind of came out of nowhere. So one of the things he had going for him was that there was absolutely no expectation, and this tournament now is the complete opposite. In fact, if anything, he is the only known quantity in this team. So let's take a look at that team as a whole and assess our expectation. Apudo, of course, there on offense with his buddy NZNR, Zalfix and Kurlos and Rocket. I was going to say Zalfix and Kurlos as two tanks, but that's a lie. It's just Zalfix who's a tank, Kurlos and Rocket the two supports, and Ninth as their single flex player. So I have to say we've seen some pretty solid performances out of NZNR as well. So perhaps another person with a bit of weight coming onto their shoulders now, but that can just as equally be seen as sharing the load.
I mean, that's true. I mean, NZR has performed very well on Tracer so far, and I think Tracer is one of the most important heroes to have performing consistently.
Especially when you've got players like Bacon Jack and what am I trying to say, Atar in this league.
Exactly right. I mean, you've got to get these initial fights off very quickly. A lot of the times, Tracer is the first character to get their ult, so NZNR has a lot of pressure on him to actually land these pulse bombs, or maybe even get a frag straight off the bat.
Yeah, so I kind of want to touch on Apudo just briefly, and we'll probably get a chance to come back to him as well, because I'm sure we will be taking a look at SunSister in just a moment. But Apudo, one of the things we had identified as being a strength of his, frankly, was just how good he is at aiming and
mechanically, yeah.
Like pointing at the thing and clicking the button, which is, the fundamental thing, and like doing that flawlessly is a pretty great place to start from. And then in MA Lakers, it also seemed to be a team that just had a lot of that natural synergy, had a lot of that teamwork, so they were able to unlock Apudo. But a lot of that is the strength of the other members of the team. Now, I don't mean to say that that's currently lacking. Let's just take a look at SunSister for a moment here. I'll get back to my point in a moment, surely.
So, I mean, we've got Night Owl, Zetman, Ilu, Kira, Mollis, and Adenkin. And the first thing I noticed about that is that they've got a lot more flexible players in the flex role itself, funnily enough. Now, this means that they clearly have a lot more options when approaching a lot of these attacks, and probably won't matter too much on control point, because most teams seem to run a lot of the similar things. But when we move on to hybrid and especially assault, that is where things start to change up for a lot of teams. And having more flexible players so that you can run things like Roadhog as one of your DPS, or even your just flat out triple DPS, running very heavily onto the dive, throwing a fire in there, that gives them those options to put in over what Fireball have.
Yeah, and to speak to another team that is actually using flexibility to great effect right now, Blank are the other team who have an incredible amount of flexibility on their players. Difference between Blank and SunSister is Blank are winning. Blank are currently topping the standings. SunSister not having quite so much success, so you almost start to worry that actually they've got a bit of over flexibility where maybe they're not committing enough to having particular people on particular things. Maybe they're not looking for consistency first and then flexibility second. So maybe that is a thing to address, but certainly this is the kind of place where they can address it. I will just wrap up what I was saying before though about Apudo. So the point I was kind of going for is, I feel like compared to when we've seen him before, Fireball are a really, really great team with a lot of very solid members, but I feel they haven't quite unlocked players like Apudo. And again, that's not the fault of the players, it's just time spent together. Sometimes you do honestly end up on a team where it all just kind of happens. It clicks into players and it's effortless. And I think that's what MA Lakers were. That's why they were able to come out of nowhere and take us all by surprise. Fireball's struggling, even when they've got star players on their roster, doesn't mean they're just not good enough, right? It just means they're the sort of team that is going to need a little bit more time. And they have spoken about the fact that they have a good attitude coming into this, and they understand that hard work is going to be 80% of their success. The other 20% is going to be superstars like Apudo.
So First map is going to be Control. It's Fireball's pick, and it seems like it's going to be Ilios.
Yeah.
Ilios, which is
Ilios,
pretty,
there we go.
pretty interesting. But I was predicting something like Nepal coming out, where you can unlock someone like Apudo on either McCree or Roadhog, some of his best heroes that I've seen previously, especially during Summer Series where it had so much effect. On Ilios though, it's still definitely an option, but they may have to actually start running things like Tracer, which NZNR will be the one running, but generally on Ilios, you see the other DPS is playing Tracer, and I don't think Apudo is nearly as, Genji, and I don't think Apudo's Genji is nearly as effective as his McCree and his Roadhog.
Yeah, absolutely. And to a lesser extent his Soldier. I feel like we don't talk about it as much because it's not as impressive with Soldier as it is on McCree when you get a sick headshot or something like that. But he is a consistent Soldier player. He can actually hold his own quite solidly against the other star Soldier players like Ichiwap and Rai who are sitting in this league. So I think, yeah, you make a good point there about Ilios. And funny you mentioned Roadhog because that is the other big thing we see Apudo pulling out, even though it's kind of a little outside of his role. And I always find, at least in this team, we didn't see that as much on MA Lakers. When he is on Roadhog, I feel like the rest of the team is in disarray a little bit. They're not as able to just kind of absorb that change as some of his previous teams have been. So I feel like even though this is such a Roadhog favored map, and clearly they feel good about picking this map, either they need to have fixed up what was going wrong when Apudo was picking Roadhog previously, and we haven't seen them play for a couple of days now, so they've had plenty of time to fix things up, or they need to actually keep him off the Roadhog. They need to let him just play his more stock standard DPS, stick on the Soldier, maybe get the McCree if there's space for it, and maybe he has picked up a solid Genji since we've last seen them, and just keep their main tank players on those tanks.
I mean, no doubt, Genji is still something that Apudo can play well. It's just, I was mentioning that before, like, so far as Roadhog and his McCree have been more effective
than his Genji.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly.
That doesn't mean that he might not just play at his peak on Genji today, and that would absolutely be an asset to his team, and it's something you see quite a lot on Ilios. Particularly one map in particular would be on Ruins, where some teams like to run a Widowmaker, and you need someone to go up and deal with that.
Yeah, Apudo, actually, we have seen him on Widowmaker as well. I feel like the Widowmaker is something we have not seen very much in this tournament yet, compared to when we started seeing it in the Summer Series. In fact, towards the end of the Summer Series, we were seeing quite a lot of Widowmaker. We were seeing it often on offense. We were seeing it to kind of just break the defense by getting one pick, and it worked consistently enough. I mean, as much as in solo queue, you're like, get off Widowmaker, it's offense.
I'll switch when I get a few picks.
It was working, and Apudo is exactly the sort of player who can make it work. So Ilios is a bit of a different kettle of fish, but I think that is absolutely an option for them here.
Yeah, well, we're going to be loading into it right away, and it's actually going to be Apudo on Tracer, which is quite interesting. NZNR up in the sky with the pharmacy combo, and this is a vast difference to what SunSister are running.
Yeah, very different indeed, and also they've actually opted into that Zenyatta as well for the healer, but already losing Night Owl. That's actually their slipperiest player on that Tracer, and it's already Fireball well established in this opening skirmish. NZNR certainly pulling his weight up in the skies, and they will be able to pick up this first point in a moment.
And it's such a great combo between NZNR and Apudo. You've got the Pharah who can drop people 120 hit points with direct rocket hits. Apudo can blink on in and finish them off before healers can even think about healing them. I mean, Zenyatta, not the strongest single target healer in the game, so he can't just get you straight up to full health before Apudo just finishes you off. So great combo so far. SunSister, they are changing things up to match what Fireball are bringing.
Yeah, very smart, and also actually picking up some hit scan on that Soldier 76. They can really contest NZNR. He's going to have to notice that quick smart, and picks up his play style equally quick smart. But already Mollis here trying to get onto this Mercy. Doesn't find the second hit. That is one slippery Swiss girl. And
you've got to be careful with tunnel vision there, especially when...
Oh dear, they got Kira out as well. Rocket was able to take Kira out of the skies, and then they knocked out NZNR.
So the big thing was as well, while we actually saw Mollis up in the sky, tunnel visioning on the fire battle, they lost Night Owl on the ground, their Soldier, who's now swapped over onto Tracer, once again changing things up. I feel like this is something SunSister do a little bit too much during their matches, especially on Control, where you have the chance to swap between rounds. Swapping in the middle of these rounds loses so much ult advantage, which which if we have a look at, Fireball are ahead in space.
Yeah, and they're already on the point as well. They try to get a good pick on NZNR, but honestly now with that res up, it's not going to matter even if they get a couple of picks, and there are the ones losing it again as Opudo doing a ton of work on the ground. Zetman followed by Night Owl looking to get a few more there as they look to get the Sparrow out of the skies, the Mercy as well. So they're not even getting the same mileage out of this Mercy as Fireball are on Kurlos. So this is really, really rough for them.
What SunSister are trying to do is match what Fireball's team composition is, except they're going to be completely behind an ultimate advantage.
Always.
There's a completely different strategy that they could have taken to this, but instead they're trying to do just what Fireball are doing. But right now it's quite clear that they can't execute on that as well. In fact, because they're behind, it's even harder. Hey, look, Mollis is calling me a liar.
Speaking too soon, but hey, Kurlos is going to go ahead and commit the race because they've still got an ultimate advantage despite that. That's going to be a sound barrier. The Fireball are just looking to wait out, but they're about to lose 90. He's going to have to commit the self-destruct, but the sound barrier's run out. Fireball commit one of their own as they get Night Owl. Now they're starting to swing it in their favor as they just knock Kira 44 out of the skies completely. They're looking to get a few more just to close it out. Odin not able to get back into the mech, and yeah, Fireball, they're still all over this point. Good use of the tempo res to kind of keep things going, even though it only got NZNR back up. Fireball honestly just looked a little bit tighter than SunSister.
I mean, that tempo res is all you need if you take out the enemy Mercy straight away. Kira dying during that fight with his res up was one of the biggest reasons that they lost. But also, SunSister not targeting the Mercy first means, of course, they're just going to bring the numbers back up to where they were before, and suddenly you've got an even fight on your hands, and still Fireball had ultimate advantage.
Yeah, and you actually touched on something a little bit there that kind of relates back to something we said before this game as well. A bit of that over-flexibility from SunSister. They are very willing to change things up. That is a good thing, and we see some teams often be a little bit too inflexible with that. They're not willing to change when really they probably should. But you also make a good point, is control. You can change between maps, right? And maybe change once if something's not working, but don't change 2 times, don't change 3 times. That over-flexibility started to plague them there.
Yeah, I mean, they'll get their second shot here. We'll be going into Ruins. If there's any map that we'll see Widowmaker on, it'll be this one. But just having a look right now, we're not actually seeing it. Fireball saying, if it ain't broke, why the heck would we fix it? But SunSister, they're sticking with what they had originally.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I want to talk about this team comp is because this is an actual answer to Pharah. Just dive as hard as you can into the backline because Pharah can't actually deal with it in time. Pharah is a great offensive character, but is very, very bad at protecting her backline, something that other DPS can do.
Yeah, but Opudo needs to win this 1v1 with Night Owl just to stop that up here. He's having a bit of a hard time of it, and SunSister aren't really committing to the dive. Because of that, there's been enough time for Fireball to just kind of wreak havoc on the squishes on this backline, already taking out one of the tanks, and now they close out on Night Owl. So again, the Fireball are going to come into this with an advantage at the point unlocked.
And biggest mistake there is SunSister, specifically Night Owl, trying to 1v1 the enemy Tracer. Opudo doesn't care.
That's not diving.
Opudo is completely happy to just take up the space of Night Owl while NZNR goes to town up in the air. What Night Owl needs to do is get together with Mollis and start diving into the backline. Get the Lucio on the ground. Even start trying to take down the Winston, because honestly, everyone on the ground will eventually die because you've got Mercy up in the sky, healing too much, focusing too much on the Pharah.
Yeah, and that should really be the game plan, but this might go a little bit of a different way for SunSister. Unfortunately losing Kira, but they did get the mech out. They're looking to close out Opudo, who's really hurting. He's just barely able to get away back to his friendly Lucio to get a little bit topped off. This Winston needs to be careful to not overcommit. Zetman will get the kill, but it will go down for it straight away as Mollis on the retreat. Oh, NZNR deadly accurate with these rockets, and despite a slightly better opening this time around for SunSister, honestly, they didn't close out the kills in time, and Fireball will continue to hold. Only this time, they aren't going to have quite so many ultimates.
This time, though, SunSister aren't changing too much. In fact, they haven't changed at all. They'll have ultimates this time. Dragonblade is going to be huge. Night Owl, though, missed his last Pulse Bomb, didn't get a kill with it, so he's going to have to work that a little bit further up. But Dragonblade is exactly what they need. Get into the backline. In fact, with all the resets, you can challenge the pharmacy combo.
Don't lose Zetman, which happens right at the top. That was one of the ultimates. They've got Kira as well. This is NZNR, not even with the ultimate again, just deadly accurate as the Dragonblade finds nothing but the Lucio. That was a little disastrous for SunSister. They need to just back off quick smart, not commit anything else to this one. Odin needs to make sure he doesn't just panic self-destruct there as his mech goes down. Yeah, he's going to be able to get out. Mollis, he's still poking around this. They want to keep it going. He's actually found Kurlos, which could be big for them. They're looking to get Ninth out of the mech as well. He's out of the range of the sound barrier as they close out on NZNR. That was mid-ultimate as well. The res, yeah, he was dead. He's going to come back in later. So if SunSister can get themselves established quick smart and hold some ultimates for when the res happens, they might be able to do it. But Kurlos, if he's not there in time, he won't even have anyone to res. He's going to smartly back up, wait for this one, let SunSister cap, and they've got plenty of time to grab it back off them.
SunSister, and they still have a few ults in the bank, specifically Transcend. Transcendence, which will protect against just general damage, right? In fact, they can actually hold it until a respectable DPS ult will come out. It's not going to save anyone against the Pulse Bomb unless you're actually stuck on the Zenyatta himself. But losing Zetman, especially right at the start.
And Night Owl goes down in the Gentleman's duel to Aputo, who is continuing to wreak havoc. Now has a Pulse Bomb, and he will be fishing for something with that. That is if there is anyone left to kill by the time he's back into this fight, because Oninkun out of the mech and Mollis on full retreat means there's really no one squishing up that Pulse Bomb to kill. That's just a quick easy cap back for Fireball, and now they've got a ton of ultimates in the pocket.
Yeah, I mean, there's very, very little chance that SunSister is actually going to take it back here. The best shot that they do have is Mollis on Dragonblade. Difference is this time he needs to get to Kurlos and kill him before he can res.
Oh, Kira's going to have to commit the Transcendence, but they still lose Elu anyway. Mollis trying to open up, but he hasn't even found anyone. This Fireball squad is too slippery as he puts the blade back, having got nothing at all with it. The res out from Kurlos to keep the team going in this one. Knight is out of the mech, but that's all SunSister have working in their favor here as they're about to lose their own mech on their own Diva. The overtime ticking down. SunSister, no members on the point to contest it, and Fireball now sit 2-0 up.
So challenging right now for SunSister. Their win conditions have been pretty hard to attain because there's two options when you're going up against a pharmacy combo, and that's you deal with it in the sky, you pick someone that can actually duel with it. In Ruins, they chose to not go for that, go for heavy dive instead. And that's something that I do agree with. It's something that can work. You get into the backline, you just rip apart the 4 members on the ground before pharmacy in the air can actually do anything about it. Now, the trick is that they weren't actually doing those things. They weren't getting too far into the backline. It's almost like they were a little bit too scared. And there was other things like Aputo just taking up all of Night Owl's attention.
Exactly.
You should never be dueling a Tracer in situations like this.
You pointed that out. It's not a dive. It's a duel. That's pointless. That's just wasting time for Night Owl. And because of that, the rest of the team couldn't commit. Also, I would like to say, what do you even dive there? You can't dive the Pharah and Mercy because they're in the skies. There's 4 people left. One's a Winston who is diving your backline. One's a Diva who's diving your backline. And the other one's a Tracer who's too slippery to dive. So really, you kill Elu. Or Alf, sorry.
You 6-man sprint onto the enemy team. But in any case, it's going to be a triple DPS comp from SunSister
what
this
do we
time.
have here?
It's Pharmacy for Fireball.
That's the well map.
Yeah, I get it.
Again, though, Fireball, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And all they lose is a Aputo off that opening skirmish. So pretty happy with that. And 3rd time's the charm. Full Fireball. Nearly called them full ball there. That would have been weird. Fireball.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, because our acronym is FC. Anyway. Fireball is going to again set themselves up on this point off the opening skirmish.
So yeah, big difference this time. Mollis is going to be on the Soldier, which means that Denkin will be running on Genji. Now they don't have a Diva at all to even have a chance at defending against NZNR in the sky.
Zetman, their only tank, is already going down because there's just enough DPS here on Fireball. This is not ideal for SunSister. And again, their over-flexibility is starting to plague them. They've gone, well, we definitely need a Genji. Mollis wants to play Soldier. Okay, all right. Zetman, you got to stay on tank. And they've just got nothing else. Fireball are absolutely wiping the floor with them.
To Fireball's credit, they're doing everything correctly. Everything they need to do, all these decisions that they're making are just correct. Well, it's the sentence we've said at the 2nd and 3rd round is, if it isn't broken, why would we fix it? Keeping Pharmacy up in the sky, SunSister have proven that they can't deal with it yet, and they are struggling, swapping characters left, right, and center to try and deal with it. At least this time they're not doing it in the middle of the match. Mollis with Tactical Visor coming up might actually be the answer, but 9th needs to be either out of his mech, dead, or completely out of position to not completely nullify it.
Yeah, and again, Aputo is just wasting all of Night Owl's time. Mollis is going to go ahead on this one, but he's not got anything, and he's been pushed back off the point as well as the Tac Visor runs out completely. Already he's lost his 1 tank teammate. Kira about to go down as well, and he can't dare to blow that Transcendence. It would be a terrible time for that. They do lose Kurlos, but that's going to be all they lose here. SunSister do not have enough members to keep this fight going. They need to back off quick smart, and they may have time for one last fight.
SunSister need to wipe it up right now and get all the way back to the spawn. Because, like you said, time for one more fight, and they do have ultimates.
Oh, that was a sound barrier out of the Lucio because Fireball wanted to commit to the route there. They did get 2 kills, which I don't disagree with.
That's enough time.
Yeah, they're at 90%. So actually, they put SunSister in the back foot, and then trickled in. What are you doing there, Zetman? As Rocket gets a kill on him right at the start of it. They're just kind of panicking. Kira now with the Transcendence on the point, but he's not doing it to keep the team alive. He's just doing it to get on the point and keep himself alive. It worked for a second. They got the overtime, but they need to still win the fight. They just gave up their win condition, and Fireball are going to lose it. Oh, they do lose Kurlos. Odinkin trying to make something happen here, but he is going to go down to the Winston. And again, SunSister with just not enough going on here as Fireball kind of run them in circles.
Oh, the most important fight during that was when Mollis had Tactical Visor. There's no nano boost there, so you're not going to kill anyone before D.Va can react. Ninth had to be out of his mech, out of position, or sitting in the spawn spaceship because...
Hello, Lucio played the game.
He probably just booped someone off the edge.
Yeah, probably.
But I mean, it's almost everything. I mean, hey, his damage got buffed in the patch, so maybe he killed people.
Maybe, yeah. What is it even? There it is. He got Elu. He got his counterparts. It was fratricide. That was why it was so impressive.
That vertical boop, because now you can actually knock people back upwards or downwards as well if you're above them. So you get a little bit of extra
get
distance,
them over that little lip there.
Get that 45-degree angle, and it's
45 boop.
Yeah, maximum distance to get people into the bottomless pit.
Over boop.
But what was I saying? Mollis in his Tactical Visor. It was a simple decision. If D.Va's there, ready to hold right click against you, and
what
you can't ult. As soon as he hears that voice line, he's just gonna fly at you holding right click, and that's exactly what happened. And they shut down their best shot at taking down Pharmacy and Farah in the air.
Yeah, all of their best
Pharmacy.
shots, in fact. That's what the defense matrix does. Shoots the shots.
It does. I mean, to be fair, he also knocked him out of line of sight as well.
Yeah, well, actually,
so
that was the Winston, but yes, you're completely right. And that was the second impactful part. But it just goes to show, right, how many tools they had to shut down that one thing. And that one thing seemed to be all SunSister had to deal with that Farah. I do want to speak, though, to the other side of this, and that is, you know, props to Fireball. Credit where credit's due. We talked at the top of this about how NZNR is a decent tracer, and we were expecting him to maybe pull it out, not so much Apudo. We were expecting him more on hit scan type DPS, but Apudo on that tracer with NZNR on that Farah, they really found something that worked there. They hit their stride, I feel, right? They had the Farah getting people low when they could. They had Apudo finishing them off in that first one. So Night Owl ended up wasting all of his time trying to deal with Apudo to stop Apudo from closing out kills. But that just meant the rest of Fireball, with all the DPS going on from NZNR, could just clean up with other people instead. And it was the Winstons, it was the D.Vas, it was all these other members still getting the kills, and NZNR getting a few of its own in there. And it didn't work out for SunSister, because even though Fireball's tracer was as busy as theirs, they didn't have the same kind of DPS as was coming out of NZNR.
It's not even a DPS issue as well. It's just a win condition issue. I talked about how you beat that.
Yeah.
If you can't shoot down the fire out of the sky, because clearly their players either weren't comfortable playing something like Widowmaker or even Ana, and they tried running a hit scan and it didn't work.
Ana, technically a sniper.
Technically, I mean, no, it's listed. Like if you pick Ana,
and
and
one
Widowmaker,
other thing is,
then
you don't even have
it's
to pick all three.
snipers.
You just pick two of them, and it's like too many. No.
Too many snipers. Swap up.
I guess like technically, yeah, but I mean, come on. One of them's a healer. I like how they released Ana to try and trick all those Widowmaker players into playing Ana. But then, like, you saw those, you could see the clips where they'd just be standing there trying to hit the enemies.
It's so annoying when your allies get in the way when you're trying to kill someone as well.
There was a clip, like the day Ana came out, and it was someone playing on Hanamura. And they were trying to get heals. They were standing beside, going like, I need healing. And then they went to like stand in front of the Ana to try and get some heals. And he moved to the side to keep sniping the enemy, like, oh man, that is someone who did not understand.
But he's also someone who could have shot a fire out of the sky. And that is what SunSister needed in this game. Or, which is the other option, which is what I was talking about, which they unfortunately weren't identifying it well enough and getting their target prioritization in correctly. Because they were meant to dive just the 4-man team on the ground. And it's like, you literally run everyone onto them, and you have 6 people compared to their 4. Yeah, 2 of them are up in the sky in addition to that.
But once their 4 members on the ground have died, what are those 2 going to do?
Exactly,
drop down into a 2v6?
And it's as simple as what I said before, which is Farah is great at offense, great at harassing areas, but as soon as her team starts getting overrun, doesn't have a lot of defensive options. You've got Concussive Blast, might knock some people back, but after that, they're straight back in, and especially if they're Tracer and Genji, you can just dash straight back at you. Just dive them. Just dive them and kill them.
Just dive them and kill them. Yeah, just
ignore
them. Just beat the other team. Why can't these guys handle it, honestly? But we do actually see that as being an issue that some teams have. It was last week, and I can't remember who was playing. It was whoever was playing against Anakin on the game where we really started to see him as a bit of a Farah superstar.
That was Blank, wasn't it?
I think it was, actually. They did end up winning that series, but man, they really struggled. And it all came down to the fact that they couldn't really kill him. They couldn't just like out-aim him and take him out of the sky. But they also weren't really committing to just going past him and committing to dive. They were still trying to run the Pharah of their own. And ultimately, they really struggled. They got through, but it was actually one of the tightest series that Blanca's played so far. And maybe it's just because of that one specific situation. And like I said, that is why we now credit Anakin as being a fantastic Pharah player. But that's one of the options the teams have. And it's just not one we see be very well explored. Just go past the Pharah. Sure, it's easier said than done, but it can be done.
It takes a lot of coordination. I mean, don't expect your
Don't expect it in solo queue.
Yeah, don't try and do this
in solo queue. If everyone's dying to a Pharah, don't just go, just ignore the Pharah, because everyone is going to hate you for that.
Yeah, but you're going to have to take the other...
Especially if they're a healer.
You're going to have to take the other hated option and just pick Widowmaker. Shoot her out of the sky. It's your best option in solo queue, to be honest, if Pharah is
What about Soldier?
Okay, Soldier is not a counter. Soldier is someone...
No, he's just very effective.
Soldier is someone that can duel Pharah. Doesn't counter Pharah. Pharah can shoot him back.
Well, it's a counter if you win the duel.
Yeah, sure. So it's
Or
someone who can deal with Pharah. Where in your team, when you're sitting with your Tracer, your Genji, and I don't know, your Torbjorn, and no one's shooting him out of the sky, that's when you can stop the Soldier.
Yeah, well, in any case, moving on forward, we are going to be coming on to King's Row next up. So this one is going to be SunSister's pick. King's Row. King's Row, a map we just saw them play against AHQ, if I'm not mistaken, or am I mistaken? I think
No, they did, and they did.
AHQ Hong Kong Attitude.
No, it was SunSister. SunSister.
All right, well, there we go. I felt like I got all turned about there somehow, but in any case, yeah, here we go. So this is going to be their pick. I kind of talked about this yesterday. Because of the format of most tournaments and how pick ban works with maps, King's Row is one of those maps that is always left in that pool of like the last few maps. So we see it played pretty consistently in best of 3 and best of 5 situations because it's not a map anyone in particular feels a need to ban.
No one loves it, but no one hates it.
Yeah, every team is decent on it, and there's no team that has it as like a specialty pick because every team is decent on it. No one is that much better at King's Row than everyone else, with a few slim exceptions. So maybe this is purely just SunSister going for something fairly middle of the road, fairly comfortable compared to Fireball's Ilios pick, which was very much their pick for them.
So I want to talk about how every team so far has done on King's Row, and I've got to say it, I mean...
Literally all of them, top to bottom, alphabetically, or chronologically, whichever you prefer.
Because I can do it in one sentence,
here
right?
we go. Right,
and,
yes.
Taking some dialect from King's Row itself, everyone seems to be rubbish at taking that, defending that first point. No one seems to be able to defend it effectively. It's always taken. I don't think anyone has actually full held it, except in Time Bank. Everyone gets to the streets phase, and everyone seems to do it pretty quickly.
What does rubbish have to do with it?
No, it's because we discussed this last night, how like when you say someone is rubbish, that's kind of an English thing to say. Tracer says it, whereas apparently we would say garbage.
I know King's Row is in the UK. I feel like that was a referential stretch.
I mean, there's also a lot of rubbish in there too. It's a bit of a trash city.
Yeah, absolute trash, honestly. King's Row.
Trashed.
More like King's no.
King's yes, because the team's picked it. SunSister. In fact, a lot of teams have picked it, so...
Yeah, King's yes, actually, you're quite right. King's confirmed.
Heard it here first. We're going to King's Row.
I'm trying to make like a Half-Life 3 joke in here, but I just can't find it.
No.
I was going to make a 3 Kings joke, because that's a suburb in our city, but no one knows that. I barely know that.
I didn't know
You didn't know that.
I moved here last year. I don't know
Yeah.
that. But, I mean...
we've got a suburb in our city called 3 Lamps. I can't find it. I don't know where it is.
We'll find it.
I'm told it's right by Ponsonby.
Let's
and I
find
can't
it
find
later.
it. No, I went there. I found it. Actually, that's a lie. I did technically find it. I saw a store called the 3 Lamp Supret, and on its left was the Ponsonby Supret, and on its right was the Ponsonby Bakery. So I can only conclude 3 Lamps is that one store.
So as fantastic as that is, SunSister want to capture point A.
Yeah, they are. Here we go. All right.
I mean, look, okay, so they're already there, and that is the first step of that take, right? Now, on the defensive side, Fireball are running a Pudo on Soldier, which means he can sit up on the high ground. This is something that SunSister absolutely have to start addressing, right? And they've already lost their first fight, so they're going to be on the back foot from this ultimate advantage side of things. So now that they know a Pudo is on that Soldier, SunSister need to dedicate someone to go up and deal with him. The best bet for that, probably a Denkin, who can just run up there holding right click, but you can also send Mollis up there too, getting up there and actually killing killing him. He's alone.
Yeah, I'm really liking the look of this defense so far. We are getting NZ and back on the Tracer. Here's the next deep dive, though, by SunSister. They trade 1 for 1. It's just the
Trade
two
monkeys.
Winstons. Yeah, trade monkeys. Kira needs to be careful to not go down, but they're looking to force Ninth out of the mech. Good position here still for Apudo as he's starting to kind of beat back his members. They've got the healer nice and safe, but before long he's going to have to commit to the ground game here
There
if he
we
doesn't
go.
get more kills. Yeah, they're trying to get the D.Va there, but the D.Va is trying to get Apudo, so now Apudo has to commit to the ground, but he's in full retreat. Oh, doesn't get out. Night Owl runs him down, and that should be SunSister sitting pretty on this point here. Actually, Rocket.
This is a big commitment.
Yeah, it's going to work though, because with that nano boost, he's able to take out the healer, and actually the support just kind of fell through there for Fireball as they went too deep trying to route, for SunSister, and the rest of Fireball kind of came back in. Model's committing a Dragon Blade, and once again finding nothing. I can't tell if they're going to cap this or not.
Molos quite consistently doesn't seem to find anything with his ultimates.
There we go. Apudo closes out.
Yeah, Apudo coming out with the tactical visor might be able to be enough to hold, but SunSister are so close to the point that they're actually getting the point just purely off their respawn advantage, right? I mean, we saw Rocket kill someone on SunSister earlier on. It was actually Kira, but
Kira, yeah.
he's already back. He's already back and been healing for like 30 seconds.
And like you said, it does start to favor them. They do lose Elu, but again, he's going to come back in and they trade one more back. So in a very protracted fight, SunSister do take it. And that should be expected there. Fireball almost had them with the complete wipe, but much like what you see on any assault map really on the second point, eventually the spawn advantage just starts to tip the balance one way when you get those staggered back and forth fights. What Fireball needed was either a complete wipe or a complete retreat. They went halfway and they lost first point.
Fireball, they're going to want to contest it at this archway as early as they can so that they get the chance at a second fight if things go a little bit hairy here. Apudo will still be sitting up on that high ground, but to be honest, I don't think he's demanding nearly as much attention as some of the other Soldier players I've seen on this map demand.
He's not quite so much. Kira's actually going to be forced to throw out a Tranquility there to keep his team alive as they lose Mollis. That is a 1-for-1 trade so far. Really hard to say who has respawn advantage, but losing Zetman here means it's starting to swing Fireball's favor now. Ninth staying alive, but another trade back if they're not too careful. Here we go, committing a self-destruct out of Ninth. It gives them a lot of space for the fight, if nothing else, as one comes back on the other side. Still nothing, but Apudo gets the kill. So this is starting to swing the way of Fireball, and SunSister should really just go into retreat here.
SunSister, I mean, they do have the closer respawn, so they are just looking at flooding the point, and they've got their tanks here who can actually sit on the point long enough.
Doing it.
I feel like because of how close they are to the point, they can actually move back onto the payload, and it has, to their credit, moved quite slowly inching forwards. And Niall actually picking up the trace bomb, the pulse bomb there, should be enough.
Yeah, and Apudo getting completely blocked up during that entire ult as well, so he did get a couple of kills, but he's just going to have to retreat anyway because Night Owl is still harassing the backside. There's just enough members there for SunSister to keep the push going. Now SunSister are at a point where they can quite happily back off, bide their time, and come in for a second push.
Now the problem is the ultimates that they used in an earlier fight. They were throwing out Transcendence for basically no reason. At best, they were trading a little bit of distance for the payload and not winning a fight. It wasn't to counter anything. It wasn't to counter the tac visor coming out from Apudo. NZ and Ardo being incredibly sneaky, almost one-clipping him.
Oh, not quite. A sneaky block by the D.Va, and now NZ and Ara is in a sticky situation. He's going to back right off, but he's kind of on the wrong side of this one. Apudo can't seem to find this Zenyatta either, and he is again forced out by this D.Va. This D.Va is just keeping Kira on lockdown. No one touches my Omnic. And now they're going to try and get this payload underway again as they've already got most of the members of Fireball here. Apudo nearly has that ultimate back up, but he's not going to get a chance to use it as he gets taken out, and SunSister should be able to get the payload moving enough to get this cap.
Denkin doing a fantastic job during all of those skirmishes, saving his Zenyatta twice against both Tracer and Soldier, doing his job correctly and still living to tell the tale. Because of all of that, his team was sustained enough for them to move the payload even further. This is really big.
Respawns are in though. Fireball have a massive ultimate advantage, and I think Ninth might have bought them just enough time with that self-destruct on the point to get Fireball to defend here. They're going to have to commit to it very hard and very fast. And now NZNR gets picked. Mollis with the spider sense sees them sneaking around the side there as Rocket commits. They're committing a lot to this. That's already 4 of their ultimates used up. They don't even have NZNR, but it's sort of working. They've got Zetman, but here's going to be the commit in response out of SunSister as they throw in the D.Va mech first. They force Fireball on the retreat, and that's going to account for the point cap as Fireball throw away a ton of ultimates.
Tactical visor means nothing if D.Va is in her mecha Denkin again just completely shuts down Apudo on that soldier, flying forwards.
Night Owl,
pulse bomb.
sick
This
catch.
is big for SunSister. They're going to get a lot of free distance out
A lot
of
of free distance and a lot of ult charge too. They're evening up the balance again, having just committed a bunch of their
They
own
are
ults.
still running low on fumes, particularly on some of the healer ults. Ilios actually getting a bit close, actually, but what is that going to protect them against the Apudo actually swapping onto the Roadhog? They don't have Soldier anymore, so no Tac Visor to worry about.
They're kind of relying on that one, but they also have to restart the charge from the bottom up. NZNR is the only one with an ultimate, but unless he finds a kill with it, it's not going to mean much. He does actually get it. Oh,
he jumped into his friend.
Jumped into his teammate, and that the pick on Mollis as well means SunSister don't have a chance for this push. They're going to take that one on the chin. Enjoy the fact that they got one of Fireball's few ultimates out, but in that time, Kurlos got his, Apudo got halfway to his, and actually they're going to have a few for this defense. So SunSister, they desperately need to get some more ult charge because Night Owl has swapped and Kira has swapped too.
So is it Denkin as well. In fact, completely
Actually
changed.
so is Zetman.
Yeah, SunSister, they're changing things up.
everyone but Elo.
Quite commonly, teams will do this on the third checkpoint here. They want more of a death ball composition, and this is what actually deals with them, right? You can stun anyone who's trying to dive in against you, which Winston has been constantly doing. Rocket completely caught out there by the flashbang, and SunSister free distance once more on the payload.
They're going for the boy. The headshot, Night Owl. That's after taking down another one just a moment earlier.
He doesn't miss.
Kurlos, he doesn't miss. Yeah, Kurlos going down as well. Ninth's getting picked off. Night Owl giving Apudo a run for his money on this Genji here. The Deadeye is going to come out. He gets nothing with it, actually. Sorry, I missed all that whole hog for a second there. But in any case, that is going to be a 3rd point cap. A little bit under a minute on the clock for SunSister, but after what was a pretty harsh defeat on the first map, that's got to be something they're feeling pretty good about.
Now, this has happened a few times where a team pushes all the way to the end of the
And then
third
the other one
checkpoint.
gets 4 minutes.
And it's been a respectable time. They get to the end and we're thinking, oh, you know, that's a respectable time. About a minute, that's pretty good. They got it all the way to the end. And then, like you said, the other team just comes in and wipes them completely, takes the payload all the way to the end. And
we
gets
actually
4
fully
minutes.
Caster's Curse the time back.
Exactly. Sorry, SunSister, if this does happen to you, but
Yeah, it's all our fault. Blame us.
exactly. But I've got to say, in that last final push, once more, SunSister were the team that actually did everything correctly. They recognized when to swap. They knew that this was one of the more optimal compositions to move into the third checkpoint. They got held up a little bit during Streets phase, but I once more want to say that Odenkin on that Diva just did such a fantastic job defensively, doing exactly what a tank should be doing, drawing attention onto himself, because quite frankly, he's the only thing on your screen that you can actually see. Such a big model, getting right up on your face. But the defense matrix, he's saving everyone he needs to.
And like I said, there was a point there, he just kept Kira on lockdown. He's like, no one touches my robot. Like,
Exactly.
First, the Tracer was trying on the flank, and the Diva was right there. Blocked the last crucial shot while the Zenyatta floated over to a health pack. Then, when the Tracer had to retreat and they went back on the offensive, there was a Apudo on Soldier set up on the high ground, and Odenkin saw it, instantly went, yep, and blocked that one. And Kira was uncontested for so long in that fight, while Odenkin was forcing all these members of Fireball to retreat. And really, when your entire objective is to move the payload, you don't need to kill them when you're the Diva. You don't have to go up there and kill Apudo. You just got to force them off the position. This is different. Okay. That really.
Right. That's it's one of the computer screens in game.
Yeah. That really threw me for a loop there.
that
I'm going to
threw
be
me
totally honest.
quite
I was
often.
like, okay.
It's like, who do they pick to play the Hearthstone on each team? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, who's the highest rank on our team? We'll just send him in. But in any case,
I reckon it's Kurlos.
I bet. I think Apudo would be actually.
Nah, it's always the healer.
Someone find out for us and tweet us.
Yeah, actually, can all the members of Fireball tweet us their Hearthstone ranks?
All right, now let's actually have a look at what's
game
going on.
here,
SunSister, Death Ball
This is
composition, and they've got
aggressive.
Night Owl on the Soldier. Is it working?
Ooh,
No, it's
at
not.
all, because they overextended. They were trying to do something cheeky to Fireball here and sort of force them back towards the spawn, but they hadn't actually got the kills to back it up. They just kind of ran themselves into a small building there on the hotel side of things, and SunSister just kind of getting cleaned up. NZNR, they've kind of gone back to what worked for them before. It's Apudo on the Genji this time around, but I mean, hey, it's working.
Pretty
Getting
much their Ilios composition there, just Apudo the only one changing.
This
They're
is
gonna get him to
trickles for
contest,
SunSister.
but
What can you even contest? It's pretty much capped. They only stepped off for a second, but that was all it took, and now they're getting cleaned up. They're going to get terribly staggered respawns because those members that just died are going to get the long walk. This is free space for Fireball.
this is basically giving up that free first fight that defending teams usually get on the street space. In fact, they are still going forward. If they get kills here, this is absolutely huge.
NZNR using all the mobility tools at his disposal with that Mercy in his pocket is safe. They're still getting them. They're trying to get Elu now as well. Odinkin is finally going to muster a defense. They've only got one person on the payload though, so they're not going to quite get the most out of this space. They really could have actually afforded to leave someone else on it. But I don't blame them for
someone get on the payload?
I don't blame them for committing as many members as possible to that route because it gave them so much space. Now SunSister get one defense before this point, and it's not even a defense with an ultimate advantage.
They're sitting 2 people on the payload right now, but they are once now close enough to actually move in and assist during this fight. Fireball, if they go in now, I feel like they might actually have enough, if SunSister go in now, they might actually have enough time to get a second fight if things go hairy.
Yeah, but they don't have much for it. They've only, they've blown a lot of ults, but only got 1 kill as they lose Night Owl already. Odinkin trying to keep this on lockdown, looking for a good graviton. He's only got a Puto who's got a sound barrier on him. He is going to go down. And the rest of Fireball, they are a little bit scattered in these respawns. Kurlos coming in for the res though. There we go. That's the tempo they needed to keep this fight alive for themselves. SunSister, they do have a bit of a respawn advantage, but with Elu going down, if they get a couple more Pixie, Fireball should be able to secure it. That's the one they need for it. The Rocket Barrage, he gets one, but he does go back as he kind of shoots himself in the foot there, quite literally. Rocket getting the Diva out of the mech. This is the payload once again underway. SunSister, like I said, with the respawn advantage, but Fireball have close enough to a full wipe that SunSister need to cede this point and try and hold out for as long as possible on point 3.
The Resurrect and then the Barrage was absolutely what sold that fight for Fireball. They've got 5 minutes to go through this 3rd checkpoint here. They'll very likely swap things a little bit up. Maybe bring out the Reinhardt, bring out the Zarya. But hey, let's use that Resurrect. Let's try and get the payload as close to the end of the checkpoint with this current composition. Use some of these ults.
Yeah.
And let's see how it goes for them.
Take a tempo res. Why not? Night Owl going to open up with a Deadeye, but Aputo's already killed Zetman. Night Owl finally getting the trades back onto it. They do still have that. No, wait, that's a lie. They don't have the res anymore. They used it quite early there, but they've got the members back up. They've just lost 2 more, but they're trading back onto SunSister now. Elu, very low. Going to have to go in for the retreat here. It looks like they're trying to keep this point alive here. Ninth going to go down here despite the Mercy in the pocket. This actually is SunSister holding in a roundabout kind of way.
They do have grab as well. They can throw it out in the next fight to build up the ults for the rest of their team. I don't think they're going to use it here, but look at this. It's only a Denkin with his ultimate ready. He throws that out and suddenly everyone else is going to get much closer to the draw, particularly Night Owl. That's what they're going to need. They need that to zone things out. Zetman can buy them enough time with the Primal Rage, but with Kurlos coming close up to that Resurrect, they need to catch him in the Graviton or someone needs to get him.
Yeah, Odinkin, he's got a good angle for it. He's going to go into it. But they haven't caught the Mercy in it, and you're right, 1 person only, as everyone else just kind of heads for the hills and avoids it. They do get NZ another. Aputo, though, opening up, gets 2, gets 3. He's looking to close this one out by himself. There's the race to keep it going for Fireball and SunSister, rather, not SandSister. With nothing left in the tank here, that res is huge for Fireball. They're looking to get this right towards the end now with triple the time of SunSister? They're going to try and muster a last-minute defense, not doing any crazy changes, but they're just continuing to lose members. Yeah, it is a good sleep, but there's still plenty of ultimates for Fireball. They all stay alive with the sound barrier running. Rocket still has an ultimate. Ninth has one as well.
If he gets self-destruct,
no, he doesn't. He's out of the mech. He is done for as well. Now they need to close it out on Zetman. They're still camping their spawns. Rocket using the ultimate to make sure that happens as the rest of the team marching the payload in. No one's going to touch it, and the ultimate by the Diva to secure it, and that is Time Bank.
Our biggest apologies to SunSister for cursing them.
Yep.
Jinxing the whole thing completely.
Every time. It is all our fault.
Yeah, no, teams...
We're the worst.
Teams do not seem very fantastic at defending on King's Row, or at the very least, maybe it's an easier map to actually attack on. So, once more, we're going into Time Bank, and because we are on the live patch, this is a completely different ball game, right? So we're going to see SunSister on attack, and there's not going to be a draw. Someone is going to win this match.
Draws are donezo. No more golden point.
I just want to talk about how it works when you're the first team to attack, right? So you don't know what the situation is going to be when the enemy team attacks, when they go for their second round of attacking. So you have to assume you've got to capture this point and get the payload as far as you can. Basically. You can't go for anything cheesy like sending in a few flankers, getting a little bit of percentage on the point. But if you do not manage to capture the point, and because you are running something like a Deathball composition who just tries to brute force their way onto the point, and you only get, say, 20% of the cap, then the enemy team who's attacking second, which is going to be Fireball, they can see this, and then they can go for a little bit of cheesy plays there, sending in a few more flankers, getting the
extra percentage.
Getting that extra
because
percentage.
At that point, that's all you need to win.
And it puts the defending team, which would be SunSister in that case, with such a horrible option of literally having to stand on the point. You can't play to the choke point. You have to stand on the point because you can't give away that percentage. Let's see how it turns out.
Yeah, we did actually see earlier today a full march through to the finish, I believe, out of AHQ in overtime after just barely capping the point. So maybe we see something equally crazy from SunSister, but not off to a good start, losing Kira. Night Owl is going to have to go back to try and deal with these flankers out of Fireball. They only have time for one more push, so I reckon they should just back off right now.
I mean, because of their composition, they actually managed to get to the point and cap it up. I believe it was maybe
7.2%.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we can see the exact number there. That's not a huge amount, right? Literally, most teams can actually just walk up to it and get that much. But like you said, 20 seconds to go, there's really only one shot at getting another fight. It's going to be 100% on Night Owl getting a pulse bomb or at least a pick.
And only one more percentage gain. They actually do get Alps, so that's a good one for them, but the rest of their members are low. And they've lost Kyrus, there's no one to top them off. But yeah, they're traded onto Apudo. It's just one back and forth, equal trades right now. But it's SunSister with the respawn advantage, even though they are very low. So Kira's going to be able to come back in onto this point. Odinkun, if he can stay alive for a moment here. All the overtime is looking to tick down. Who's going to be able to touch the point? Actually, no one has gone for it. No one had committed. They got the respawn out of Kira, but he didn't actually gun for it. He knew he would just die anyway. But yeah, that's it. A clean and easy hold. And there you were talking about it, what, 17%. This is going to be a piece of cake for Fireball.
Literally, what Fireball can do is run 5-man deathball, something like Roadhog, Reinhardt, maybe even throw an Azaria there. Throw a soldier in, I don't know, Lucio, something like that, so you can deathball through the choke point. But then on the back end, you've got something like a Tracer or a Genji.
Throw in a Mei.
Constantly, you don't need a Mei. Throw in a Hanzo. Why not? Throw in a Torbjorn.
Hanzo.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that they can throw in a flanker now who can constantly be behind SunSister's defense and
draw them off the point.
Telling them that they cannot sit on the choke point. They can't sit in the archway trying to defend. 17% on the point is not a large amount to beat.
And normally if someone is flanking, if someone is right behind you, the way you deal with it, they're the one that's cut off from the team. You turn around, you deal with them, you're in a 6 versus 1, easy kill, then you address the rest of the 5 members with the numbers advantage. But the moment they do that, like you said, they step off the point, and in the time it's going to take them to kill that one person, especially if it's a super slippery Tracer, Fireball can cap 17%. That is going to be a child's game for them. So Fireball now have all of the options. The ball is very much in their end of the court.
The Fireball is in there.
Fireball is there, and yes, which is actually quite startling if you really think about it.
So SunSister's defense, and this is something I'd really expect. It's what they played last round, but also with the McCree thrown in means it's going to shut down any flankers that try and go around the back and onto the point. And look at how they have to stand, literally on the point. They cannot give up percentage, but having Mollis on the high ground.
Apudo and NZ and are both on flankers. They're really taking what we said to heart. So let's see when they're going to commit to it. Like we said, all their end of the court. They have all the time in the world for this.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes. Oh, no one there, buddy.
Sick flashbang. He was expecting it. He was like, oh, I can do this. But yeah, here we go. Here's the dive. And it's SunSister who are kind of split up here. Fireball, already some feet on the point. Here they go. It's starting to tick up as SunSister crucially back off to try and deal with those flankers. They are going to get a couple of kills to secure it for now. But with already half of the necessary amount ticked up for Fireball, they're in pretty good shape.
It does reset, though. It does go back to 0, so they do have to start collecting it again. But right now, they still have 2 minutes to go. They can literally wait until an ultimate fight, and especially if they take Night Owl out at the start of the fight, they can just go in.
Apudo's going to look to try and deal with Mollis, but there's the D.Va to protect him, but there's the rest of the team now trying to flank the D.Va, and it's working. Mollis on the low ground, he's down and out for the count, looking to pick off Kira on the back foot of this one. They get him. Rocket just doing a ton of work here. That's the DPS, and 2 of the healers sorted. Fireball well established on this one. SunSister losing members left, right, and center. That's the Reinhardt too. The percentage is, oh, no way. That's what, 0.6 of a percentage there, just barely kept alive by this D.Va. Out of the mech now, and surely to die. That should be the rest of it ticked up. There we go, easy breezy. Fireball, take it home.
And I feel like Fireball probably could have just fully capped that point within the 3 minutes that they had. But
if they needed to, they could have. That was convincing.
It was the correct composition, given the options that SunSister had on the defense, having someone to shut down flankers, having someone on the high ground like Mollis to actually have a good amount of DPS that's also safe and demands attention. But having Night Owl taken out at the start of the fight was really what just broke through their defense.
Speaking of Night Owl, let's just recap his performance here, right? He really impressed me. He really did impress me on this McCree. And
Specifically this moment.
yeah, this moment specifically, but leading up to this, he was extremely consistent. I'm surprised we didn't see more out of him. And obviously they want Mollis to be on that soldier when they're playing him, but after that, I feel like Night Owl could be a really, really solid soldier option for them. It feels like I said, they've got a lot of flexibility in what they can all pick, but I'm starting to get the sense that SunSister actually have a lot of inflexibility in other areas, and those other areas are when they want a soldier, they only ever put Mollis on it. Only, which means if they don't want to have too many hit scan DPS, they've got to take Night Owl off whatever he's playing onto something else. They lose McCree as an option, which is, as we just saw, a potentially great option for him. Very rarely can you easily run a Tracer when you're in that situation. You have to get, I'm trying to remember the name, they switched up Odinkun, I believe, as well, every single time that happens. They lose him as a Genji option. He's forced onto the Diva. So Soldier 76 seems to be a real spanner in the works for SunSister, because it seems that of all of their flexibility, only Mollis is comfortable playing it, or at least Mollis is the only person they're comfortable having play it. I want to see that change. I want to see Night Owl start to pick up Soldier and play it at least as consistently as he's playing McCree there, and they're going to open up this whole team. I feel like actually we were talking about their flexibility, and it is true, they do have a lot, but they are hamstrung by that one thing. They are not able to make the most of their flexibility.
Definitely correct. Something.
Thank you, Teach.
Yep. You get
Top score.
A plus.
Yes.
A plus. Maybe an S plus.
I don't even need that. C's get degrees.
There you go, folks.
Yeah.
How we
could've
got here.
I could have just scraped and coasted by. I didn't need to give an answer that good.
Yeah, I probably would have just been fine with a single sentence.
But you know what? I provided sources and everything. You can check out my bibliography.
But if I go back and find plagiarism, well, you're out of here.
Uh-oh.
You are out of here. But
Dunzo!
Hey, but hey, someone who's not out of here just yet is SunSister. But they are one map away from being taken out of this series. It's going to be the third map. We have seen a reverse sweep today.
Exactly. We saw our first, not only first fifth match, but first reverse sweep at the same times, and that was AHQ. So maybe SunSister do have that in the back pocket, but let's be completely honest. SunSister, they are off the back of a loss to AHQ. Now they are facing a loss against Fireball, the other team literally at the bottom of the standings. I just sort of smashed the two words together. Anyway, bottom of the standings as well. So, I mean, how do you turn around for this? For those of you who are just tuning in now, I mean, that's the gist of where we are at. That is the gist of SunSister's dire-looking situation.
This is the
Fireball,
fight.
on the other hand, do look like they're really starting to unlock their players, which is exactly what they needed. This is SunSister's lowest moment and the beginning of maybe an upswing for Fireball. How does SunSister swap that narrative around?
The power of friendship. Is apparently not enough, though. Because that was so awkward.
What was that?
Well, look, I saw you open the hand, and then I did it
Yeah,
down
because
here.
yeah.
Look, I'm not,
And you
I'm
did it with the near hand as well. So
I'm not cool.
I'm sorry.
So I think we're starting to learn that. But what I
Oh my God! I get to be the cool one.
I'm not
This
cool.
is a
I'm not cool.
first.
I'm not cool because I spend too much time playing video games.
Look at me, dude. I'm ginger and I have a mustache. I'm not cool. I've never been cool. I don't know what cool is. I'm boiling hot right now. I'm definitely not cool. And our next map is going to be a very cool place. It's going to be Volskaya. That is the sickest segue I've ever done. Volskaya. So, what can we say about this? This is Fireball's pick. Have we seen Fireball on Volskaya yet?
I think maybe once, but I can't off the top of my head say who they were playing against on it. But I want to talk about what they can run on this map. And there is a ton of space in the sky for a Pharmacy combo to come out once more. I don't see any reason why they won't play it again. SunSister have proven 2 maps in a row that they have trouble dealing with this combination. And there's a lot of space for both Pharah and Mercy to work around. There's a lot of lines of sight that you can use to block from the hit scan, trying to duel you from the ground. And also, I think the biggest thing is just that SunSister can't deal with it right now. They are struggling to find an answer to Pharmacy.
Exactly. And even on the second point, when it's interior, that is still an option. There is a lot of vertical space. There is.
I mean, you can't even. The Sombra goes really high in the cinematic.
We were actually talking that before in the Sombra cinematic. Like the gangways you see right at the top in that actually do exist on the map. Technically, they're above the ceiling.
You can't actually get there.
You can ragdoll up there. But in any case, there is still a lot of vertical space in the play area, and there are even some points that can only be accessed by not being on the ground. So Fireball, I feel, are just naturally favored on the offense here. I feel there is no two ways about that, assuming they're still willing to run that same thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if they are. They've run it now even on King's Row. They know when they can run it, and they know it's working. SunSister, like you said, have yet to deal with it. So if you're Fireball, why not at least try it? So the question is, not can SunSister defend against it. We know that they can't unless something changes dramatically. The question is, what does SunSister need to do on the offense, and how good does it need to be?
See, the problem is that Fireball can just run the same thing on defense. They can still run Farah and Mercy up in the sky. I mean, you can leave another healer down there as well, throw in Ana, maybe probably Lucio, and suddenly they've got enough healing on the ground, enough healing in the sky, and once more, there's a lot of space for Farah to work with. And when you're the attacking team, and this is also going to work for Fireball's favor when they're attacking, is that the path to go up is usually up into those high ground positions, either on the left or the right, to take the defending team out from there and then just fight on the point with a few members on the high ground. Farah can just shoot everyone off of that high ground immediately. So you need a diva to block it on both sides.
Farah can just shoot everyone.
Exactly. Who thought?
This is amazing what you can do with a Farah these days.
What you can do with a rocket launcher.
Something we've started to see as being quite a common defensive tactic on Volskaya as well, which is probably quite different to what a lot of people are used to in solo queue, and even quite different to what we've seen in some pro play so far. They're defending behind the point. They defend on the high ground, sort of on the spawn side. Yeah, the balcony, on the behind kind of spawn side there. Because of course there is the other balcony, which is kind of on the Volskaya flank. So a lot of teams are kind of coming through to the side, going for that opposite flank, so that they're kind of a bit more even. And what it means is no one's really skirmishing the point, and it becomes this game of chicken, and often comes down to who gets what pick first. So the team that wants to cap wants to get onto that point, but the moment they do, they are on the low ground, the other team is the high ground, so you absolutely have to get those picks first. So really, the defenders are creating an even greater kind of defender's advantage where they hold all the cards, right? Because until you pick someone, you cannot touch that point. The trade-off is, though, if you do pick someone and you get onto that point, you start capping it, there comes a time where that defending team must commit. They cannot just give up the point. They can't just sit on that high ground. So if they're not finding the right picks, if they're not making it happen, that's a problem.
This is also going to be important with the new system on Assault.
And the way you can do that, the way you can stop the other team from getting those picks on you once you, the attacker, have committed to the point, is taking something real slow, steady. Not taking dive to get onto the high ground. This is a little counterintuitive, of course, but taking things like a Reinhardt, possibly taking a diva just for the extra block, and you can kind of contest that high ground a little bit as needed if it's just a soldier up there, which often it is later on. And if you go a more slow and steady route, you actually do better than going full dive against that high ground. And SunSister have yet to really run a Reinhardt out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it once more as the option, but the way SunSister have been playing, especially when they run dive compositions, is that running into a Farah combo with Mercy, they're still not identifying their win condition for the next fights. And that is, like I've said in earlier games, that they need to dive the 4-man team on the ground and actually take them out just with their pure numbers advantage, because, once more, Farah, not a very good defensive hero in terms of saving people positioning-wise when they're getting dived upon. One concussive blast, that's all you've got.
Pretty much. Well, Volskaya, I feel like we've theorized and postulated as much as we can about this one. Let's not beat about the bush. Fireball are absolutely looking favored in this one, and we said at the top of this series as well, the narrative was going to end for one of these two teams. They can't both be at the bottom of the ladder after a game where they've played against each other. And they're both so likable, it's hard to see one of them lose, but right now, it's on track to be SunSister. And I also said it looks like Fireball have kind of started to unlock some of what I was saying they needed to do earlier. This is the game that will secure that for them.
All right, Fireball actually opting to attack first, which is kind of interesting with the changes that I mentioned before, but in any case, they're going in with a pretty heavy dive composition. They like getting a Puto onto that Genji. NZNR going to be on that Tracer. They're not going to run Pharah and Mercy as a combo this time, so they're looking to just dive onto the point, be basically everywhere they can at once. SunSister though, they've picked Knight out onto it's your boy McCree, and well, Fireball, they're just rolling through them.
They are. This is just. I'm actually so taken aback at how this has gone, right? I mean, everything I was just talking about use of the high ground. It's like SunSister lost all sense of discipline, lost all sense of control. They look absolutely headless right now as Fireball are just stomping them.
They're going to buy as much time as they can. Oh no. Oh no. They're just having a dance
Have a
party on the
boogie.
point.
Have a boogie.
No, I like it.
Disco
but,
point.
So here is the most important part of the assault map. Genre. It's getting to genre. Yeah.
Genre. I only listen to Hybrid Escort.
Hybrid Escort. Well,
Yeah.
all right.
You've
so
probably never heard of it.
Let's talk about this part, because Fireball just won a fight pretty handily. They've got a lot of ultimate advantage. They haven't quite got to those ults apart from NZNR, so they're going to have to wait up for it. But hey, look, if you get a Pulse Bomb kill at the start of it, that's a 65 advantage.
That's a pretty great way to start it out. There is a defender's advantage. They need to get a lot more kills to secure this one out, but Defense Matrix can only go one direction. NZNR was in the other one. They're going to get Zetman as well, hopping around to the point. The respawns are going to start coming in, but Fireball are so well set up here. And Fireball are already just gunning for extra charge as well on their ultimates, the ones that were already down. A Puto with a Dragon Blade. They've got a Nano Boost if they really want to combo it, but they can just kind of take their time. This is already going to get capped just about. Here they are going to commit the ultimates now. The Nano Boost out as a Puto just starts to open up. He gets Night Owl. Nothing else just yet. Let's see what else he can find. Nothing there, but the Diva will go down anyway. Here comes a Winston swinging out of the gates with his own Nano Boost. SunSister, that's really their last ditch to defend this one out, but it's not going to happen as the self-destruct.
They got one kill.
Gets committed. Yeah, they got one kill, but the self-destruct there meant they couldn't really get onto the point to contest it. It's just going to take a couple of more kills for Fireball, and SunSister already low again. They've lost the healer. No one else just yet. Mollis, he gets a Pulse Bomb out, but he doesn't get anything with it. And now he and the other DPS Night Owl are about to go down as Rocket swings with the ultimate. Any second now, surely. The question is just how much time will they have in the time bank.
But every single kill that SunSister can get at the stage is going to get them a little bit closer to actually stabilizing. Yes, they're buying a lot of time, but every kill gets them a little bit closer to actually using their respawn advantage to take control of the points.
But they actually have to take control of the point. They're going to commit a sound barrier. Again, just buying time. I mean, yeah, sure, you can keep buying time, but you're just relying on luck. And Fireball, they're so consistently pulling this one out again and again and again. Night Owl finally getting one back, and maybe we just cursed them because they are having to go into full retreat here, but they will come back swinging with plenty of time on the clock, plenty of ultimates in the back, and plenty of confidence after holding that skirmish alive for so long there at 93.7%.
And the biggest thing in that was that they weren't swapping up their composition to anything janky, like trying to throw in a Mei there so that they could delay the point even further. So that means they haven't lost any ultimate charge. Their team composition is still pretty solid. They did use a few ultimates to actually defend the point there. Fireball, they still have a little bit to work with, but it's going to be a naked Nano Boost, probably thrown onto Rocket to get the most consistent amount of damage out of it. But hey, look, that's a kill at the start of it. That's a really good start for Fireball.
Onto Mollis. Now NZNR committing as well onto this Winston here. They've got Kira out of the picture as well. They don't have many ultimates left for themselves, and they do lose Rocket, but they're looking to trade back. That's going to be a great ultimate there, actually, to keep himself alive from Zetman. Ninth is kind of keeping this point on lockdown, though, keeping Top quite handily as well as they're looking to take out Ellen from this one. There we go. And that should just be enough. They do get him out of the mech with that self-destruct there, but that's going to zone them off the point again for even more cap time, throwing down their own self-destruct with an Animus on Zetman, but he can't find anyone because they all scattered away from that self-destruct. They get a kill at last. Once again, though, Fireball are going to be happy to take that on the chin if need be.
I mean, as happy as they are, SunSister, because of how long these fights are actually going for, they're buying a lot of time in this defense. There was almost immediate cap on the first point. Fireball had something like 8 minutes to move on to the second point. We're now down to 3.5 minutes after that extremely long first and even almost as long second fight.
NZNR. Look at this, he's got Kira in his sights. He hasn't even noticed it. Kira's going to go away from that one, though, to stay alive. Elu getting some good damage down, and actually now NZNR just has to retreat.
Yeah, this is actually a pretty good situation. They
lost
picked
Kurlos.
They picked up Kurlos. Yeah.
Oh, trade back onto Mollis. That's a bit of an overextension by him.
It doesn't really matter at this stage. It's really just going to get Night Owl. Apudo? No, the Tracer. NZNR. Closer to his ult.
Yeah, that's the guy.
Yeah, that's the guy. I got it eventually. But yeah, the fact is, every kill counts right now for SunSister. They've got such a big advantage just from respawning so close. Now they've also got Night Owl ready with the Dragon Blade. If they can survive long enough for Kira to get his nano boost, that's enough for them to win a fight here. But hey, what also is enough as a pulse bomb.
Already lost Alex, and it's good work out of Mollis. Now getting Rocket as well. It looks like SunSister have kind of found their feet here for this defense. Yeah, they got respawn starting to come in, but it's a much longer walk for Fireball than it is for SunSister. They do get Night Owl.
Oh, that's good.
He's just trying to make it happen on his own back here. He's set up on the point. There's going to be a Winston in to contest him though, and he can't really survive against that, so he will back off. But that's maybe bought enough team for the rest of the time to come in. Enough time for the rest of the team.
What it actually just resulted in, right, is just NZNR getting his ult. It wasn't enough for his team to cap. They knew that. They didn't move in. So Fireball still have to move in with a big ult-wiping team composition right now. They've got a nano boost, but who are they going to throw it on? Apudo doesn't have tactical visor just yet, so it's probably once more going to go onto Rocket if they're not going to wait for this next fight.
Or maybe they get a great pick. NZNR already getting to sit pretty on this point to look for it, but his team's they're kind of splitting up the team here, and it's really working. They're forcing him to commit the sound barrier already, and that's just Night Owl trying to waste
If he can get out, that's big.
He should be able to get out, yeah. Mollis and NZNR having a bit of a gentleman's duel here off to the side, and NZNR gets on the wrong side of that, when Night Owl did go down there to Apudo, who's opening up with the attack visor now, but it goes down to Odin. He's the only one to do it too, but that was two ultimates that they lost for that one. Speaking of all your eggs in one basket, happy Easter. NZNR is going to take out his counterpart in Mollis Fireball. They're trying to get the upper hand on this one with a lot of members on the point, but they aren't quite getting the kills to secure it out just yet. Kurlos going down here, and yeah, I don't think Fireball are really going to keep this one alive. They try to self-destruct just in case, but everyone runs and ducks to cover. They're going to be just fine, and SunSister continuing the miracle hold.
Fireball, if they want a hope of actually capping the point right now. Oh, okay, never mind. They just picked up 2 kills there.
Alrighty, well, that's one way to do it. And again, there is going to be respawns coming through any minute now, but they're looking to get Zetman as well. Rocket committing an ultimate to keep this point on lockdown. They've got the members there. It's not going to be contested for much longer. It's just Night Owl kind of being cheeky on the side. And every time someone steps off it now, they can only go on it one by one. Every time they step off, it's more time ticked up for Fireball. They're so close. They're within a hair's breadth, but they need to continue to secure the kills. He needs to get a great one. He's sticky as the diva. It doesn't quite get the kill, and they lose their own diva. It's going to be something, but it's not something enough as Fireball do cap. They burn down a ton of time, though, SunSister, and Fireball get with just under a minute.
SunSister, wow, they really impressed me on the defensive fight there. They knew exactly how to play the respawn advantage. What did not impress me, though, was that defense on the first point.
Not at all.
Fireball just absolutely steamrolled them. They went completely heavy on the dive. Now, we predicted Fire and Mercy were coming out, but instead, a dive composition just... SunSister were trying to defend on too many points there, which left a lot of their team a bit isolated. You just throw everyone onto one of these members, take them out one by one, which is, funnily enough, I believe the game plan for Fireball coming into this entire tournament, taking teams down one by one.
Well, they're starting here. That's the plan.
Here.
SunSister, yeah, like I said, props to them on the defense, and like you just said as well, and I feel like they kind of... They figured something out. They figured something out with how Fireball were playing, and we were seeing a lot of NZNR going very deep and doing a lot of work, but every time he did work, his team couldn't follow up because SunSister were keeping them busy, and that was very smart play by SunSister. Even if it was just getting a kill and drawing out an ultimate, it was enough to burn 5 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, well, SunSister...
Could have maybe even done the whole 6 minutes, though. They looked like they could have helped.
It really did, and, you know, as a fan of watching people play video games, I kind of wish they did hold there. But
exciting, surely.
It would have been. Now, SunSister, the question is, can they actually cap both points here? This is going to be a really big ask of them. The big question is going to be, what is Fireball actually going to run on defense? They've shown a lot of prowess on the dive composition, particularly having at least one flanker. I think actually on the defense of Kingsborough at the very first point, they did have Apudo on Soldier. Expect to see that coming out this time, and yep, there it is. Apudo is going to be the target that they need to get onto. NZNR, though, Tracer on the defense is going to be pretty big, because quite often we've seen him get some very amazing pulse bombs, which have saved games.
Heavy dive out of SunSister here, though. This is exactly what they need to take out the likes of Apudo and Fireball. They aren't exactly really entrenched on this defense. Sneaky Mollis looking for it. This Fireball, they've already kind of given up a lot of this high ground, but SunSister are equally scattered as they lose Zetman off the top of the fight. Over the edge as well. That is an unfortunate way for it to go. And they're getting the picks already. Losing Mollis and Odin could mean SunSister going to have to back up for this first fight.
So the difference between Fireball's first attack and SunSister's is that Fireball all dived the same person. They all jumped straight onto NZNR on the McCree. This time SunSister kind of seemed all over the place. You have Mollis trying to kill the Lucio. You have Night Owl trying to dive onto the opposite side of the map across the point. It just didn't seem coordinated. And I think that is actually the biggest issue in SunSister's gameplay over the last 3 maps we've seen, is that their target prioritization doesn't seem to be as on point as other teams.
Once again, I mean, it's now Apudo just sitting on the low ground. He doesn't even need to be on the high ground. He knows that he can just step off it for a second, commit in the safest position possible, as now back on the high ground, he takes out Night Owl. So this is exactly what we expect out of Apudo. The positional play out of him today, compared to SunSister who are having a couple of issues, his is just absolutely on point.
I mean, look at the difference, right? Zetman, when he dives in, he dies almost immediately. And you look at Apudo, who is jumping on him, you've only got Night Owl. He's not enough to just take him down out of the fight. Occasionally, yes, if you very much outclass your opponent, you can beat them in a duel in something like a Genji against Soldier. But this time, something else is going to come into play, and that is ultimates.
Apudo with his and that nano boost to combo it up. They might not even need it, because again, they've just picked Zetman. They did commit the pulse bomb for that, but that's a whole chunk of time burned off. Oh, getting Night Owl as well. Right as Zetman respawn means SunSister have to wait again if they want that Dragon Blade available for this fight. And even then, he might just go down to a nano visor if they're not careful. So Fireball again, holding all the cards.
So often, especially when they run the dive comps, SunSister run Kira on the Zenyatta. Now that's fantastic when you have a great target prioritization. They don't seem to have that, which means it's much more likely that they should be using something like an Ana so that Night Owl can get effective Dragon Blades.
Oh, and here he goes, committing onto Apudo, but he doesn't find him. Apudo goes in full retreat. He's going to be completely fine, and already nothing's found for Night Owl as the nano visor opens right up. The Demon doesn't block anything because he's fallen asleep up there, and Apudo just tears the team to shreds.
And that's also another big difference, is that they're protecting their targets that demand respect. Apudo constantly has Kurlos up there with him, and we saw how impactful that sleep dart could be. Just completely shutting down the defense matrix means that he could just take him out. And yeah, Denkin ate up 600 hit points worth of Apudo's ultimate, but still it was enough for him to just turn around and target the rest of the team. Apudo, he's still demanding respect, but he's got the protection and the lack of target prioritization coming out from SunSister, keeping him alive.
Oh, Mollis, he gets a good one to kick it off, but honestly, less than a minute left. They have to cap this, then the next one, then win time bank. It is looking really hard for SunSister. They're at their lowest, but they do get Zalf. That's exactly what they need. Zetman commits the ultimate to keep himself alive and keep this fight alive. Here we go. Zetman trying to secure the kills, but Apudo continuing to be uncontested on the high ground as he is again tearing the rest of the team to shreds. The respawns are starting to come in for Fireball, and despite the long walk, they're able to get there as they force SunSister back for what may be the last time.
Nobody on Apudo during that fight. Yes, they got some early kills, but even with the numbers disadvantage, Fireball come out on top. Well, let's just say Apudo comes out on top because he basically killed everyone during that fight. Now he's very, very close to his ultimate. We'll have it up for the next fight. No nano boost, but honestly, I don't think this guy needs it. He just needs Kurlos to hit that sleep dart, and his nano boost, his attack visor will just do the rest.
Wow. Here we go. The tactical visor to close it out. No, in the overtime, Mollis is down. I feel like I'm watching a foregone conclusion. They do get Apudo out of this. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold on, did I speak too soon? They've found a bunch with it. Oh my gosh, they're gonna get Kurlos. They're gonna get the whole lot of them. NZNR, he's the only one left. He's gonna stay alive for a moment with the recall, but he's just trying to buy seconds. They've actually got the numbers here. They got the numbers on the point. Rocket trying to keep it alive as well, so that maybe Fireball can come in with a miracle round of respawns. But SunSister, they're set up on this one. They've got a few more members. They've got Rocket as well. They're trying to get the cap. It's ticking up painfully slowly for them, but they're going to get their own respawns. Zooming in. Here comes their healers. But here's Fireball with the sound barrier. They're opening it out. And Ninth on the point as well. They commit a Transcendence, and Ninth can't do anything. He's surrounded, and he gets paused out of the mech. They're committing a nano boost onto Apudo, but he's just not got the angles. He's now trying to set up on the point, but he's so low with the Discord on him as well. He goes down. That self-heal is not going to do anything for him, and they're keeping this one alive. SunSister at the 11th hour. tower, they might be able to keep this one going. Looking to close out the rest of Fireball now, and they are just barely going to do it, provided they can close out Rocket here. Yes, they can. That's the cap. I don't believe it. We have a match on our hands.
And Fireball have set SunSister up for the perfect way to move on to the second point. Not only did SunSister build up a lot of ult charge during the bodies being thrown at them on that point, Fireball used a lot of theirs. They used Sound Barrier, they used Aputo's ultimate, and Nano Boost was used too. SunSister, this is their moment to cap the second point. They have to do it now, otherwise it is going to be a huge struggle.
Yeah, quick snowball. You've got to get in fast. Here they go, committing. Zetman already Discord onto Aputo. He's going to duck for cover, and Zen are now looking for good flanks. They get Kira. That's a really big one for them, and they're trying to get Night Owl. That's one of the ultimates that SunSister had available. That should take the wind out of the snowball sail for them as they go into full retreat. Odin Kun, oh, he is going to get popped out of the smack as they lose Mollis as well, and Fireball. That was the crucial hold for them, and now what they've got to do is run down this clock.
And Fireball hold without using a single ultimate of their own. During that, it was this time SunSister's bodies being thrown at the point, giving away that ult charge to Fireball. Now they've got the tools to stabilize. In fact, they already have stabilized. They've got everything they need. In fact, they're coming up to almost 6 people on their ultimates. Alphic's the furthest one away at 50%. SunSister, they've still got just under 3 minutes to go in. They can go in, try and bait out ultimates from Fireball, but trying not to use any of their own. It's going to be a big ask, but then they need to come back in with the ult advantage. Do they commit to this fight, or do they try for the long game here?
What are they going to try and do? SunSister already getting a ton of wipes here. Elu's committed a Sound Barrier. That was not good timing out of him. Mollis as well committed a Pulse Bomb. They'd already lost 2 members when that happened. Zetman, he kind of only just come in for the respawn. Aputo, he's now going to, here's his pet diva. He gets Odinkun out of the picture, and a good hold and secure from Fireball, drawing out ultimates that SunSister should not have committed.
And still once more, they're sticking to that Zenyatta. Yes, it's great if you can all get onto the same target. It doesn't seem like that is actually happening. Fireball, they have everything they need to defend again. Nano Boost, probably not even needed. Aputo has been able to get a lot of mileage out of his ultimates. Night Owl still yet to do his. He's held on to that one ultimate. Oh my god, he's out of this fight too.
Again, and Aputo continuing it up. 2 dashes, 2 kills. Those resets doing a ton of work. And again, that is exactly what happened a moment ago.
SunSister, you've got maybe 2 fights left on you, and we saw how much of a struggle it was for even Fireball to capture that second point. The respawn advantage is absolutely ginormous when you get over there. It's going to be one of the longest fights of your life. Now, Night Owl, your job is to not die with your ultimate up.
Again.
For the 3rd time.
Yeah, please don't. Zetman nearly with his as well. Kiro nearly with the Transcendence should be able to keep them alive on the point, provided, like you said, someone like Night Owl doesn't die at the top, and provided as well that Kira himself doesn't die. They get Kurlos though. That's what Night Owl was wanting. He's trying to find his counterpart. Oh no! Once again, he gets him. They've got the trade back though. Mollis doing work. They're trying to keep this one going as they pick NZ and R. Kurlos though is coming in with the respawn, and they've got a few resources still. There's the Transcendence committed to the point to keep this one alive. As Oniken throws out a self-destruct to try and force Fireball back. It's going to work as they get Alps and Ninth out of the mech. Aputo commits a Dragon Blade though. He's got 1 so far, but that's not enough as he gets dropped down. And now SunSister, they've still got some mileage as Night Owl commits his own Dragon Blade.
He finally uses it.
What can he get? It finally happens. He hasn't got anything with it, but it didn't really matter. They've forced Fireball into an awkward spot here, but SunSister, they're on the precipice of being in an awkward spot of their own. They do pick NZNR, but they kind of have to take a breather and wait for their healers to come back, and I don't know if they have time for that breather.
They don't have time, especially if Fireball continue this pursuit, trying to push them forward, push them back towards their spawn. Now they're finally running back. They've finally got time to regroup, but Adenkin is only just respawning. He's not even going to make it to the point in time as fast
and Mollis
as
is going to be the only one with an ult. They've got to just go, because Kurlos can just straight up commit one to Aputo. Touch the point, someone. There's only 2 seconds left. They're going to commit Mollis to do it. He's the one who's going to open it up, and he is the only one with an ultimate. He needs to get something great with it, like a healer, but they've already lost the second DPS. Night Owl is out of this one. Oniken nearly out of the mech, and they've got no kills on Fireball. None whatsoever. The Pulse Bomb goes wide, and Mollis is soon to drop down. That's going to be SunSister. The dream ends here as Fireball complete the 3-0, and SunSister at the bottom of the table now. The power of friendship has failed them.
Power of friendship crumbles, and they are also the very first team to lose their back-to-back best-of-5 series twice in a row. And it's honestly just devastating for a team which is honestly so nice, and I want to put my heart behind them.
So likable, but likability does not win you games. Aputo wins you games.
Does it?
I don't mean to say
Apudo has won them one series.
I don't mean to say Apudo is unlikable either, but I mean, look, this is a well-deserved player of the game, and honestly, there are so many others that we could have seen as well out of him. Really, really consistent, and I said it before, this map on Volskaya here, it's actually really starting to look like Fireball have unlocked Apudo, and not just him, they're unlocking the rest of their members too. The whole squad just looked more of a unit than SunSister. Now, whether that's good enough to then take it to the other teams in this tournament is another question, but it's a question we're about to answer when they come up against Matchy. I mean, it's one thing to beat the team at the bottom of the standings, but can you take out a team that has done just a little bit better than that?
I think it's going to be a big ask for Fireball to take them on. They haven't had very impressive results against the teams that they have played so far, but the teams that they have played so far have been sitting up near the top of the table,
so
right?
Far,
I mean,
yeah. That's quite a good point.
Marchi somewhere in the middle, so not going to be the easiest competition, but once more, it's not something like Blank that you're going to be playing this time. So yes, I believe Fireball do have a good shot at actually taking out this series. They've got a lot of support behind them, especially all the fans watching the stream. Got to be happy after seeing Fireball finally take out a 3-0.
You're actually completely right. The only teams they've played so far have been AHQ, Blank, and Hong Kong Attitude, who are all sitting in the top 4, and the only one in their top 4 they haven't played yet has been Flash Wolves. So picking up this win on SunSister, like I said, is a strong thing, but it is only a win against the other bottom team in the standings right now. The next match against Matchy is going to be really, really interesting because Matchy have had a bit more of a varying amount of success, have played some very tough teams, have played some much easier teams, they've had some iffy performances, some strong performances. It's really hard to say where this one is going to fall just on paper, but these are those crucial matches that we talk about, the ones that really determine where teams sit, relatively speaking, in the standings. And if this is the beginning of something for Fireball, if this is the beginning of them finding their stride and running a marathon, Matchy being defeated will be what proves it.
Yeah, I think this match is, so as much as the match that we just saw was a tale of who's not going to be at the bottom of the table, I think this next series between Fireball and Matchy is going to be who's at the middle of the pack. Because if Matchy lose here, they're going to drop closer to the bottom of the table.
And Fireball will continue their newfound rise.
Exactly right. I mean, if they can take out Matchy today, I'm definitely going to be putting a lot more hope in them, and it might be off the back of what you just said about them unlocking their DPS players, NZNR, but especially Apudo in that match, who just absolutely went off.
Yeah, so I guess there's something else I want to say, and that is an apology, because we lied. At the top of that, we talked about how we were expecting Apudo to go onto things like the McCree and like the Roadhog, and those were the things that he's really, really strong at, etc., etc. And we were talking about the problems they have when they try and put him on the Roadhog. Well, he pulled out a Genji. He pulled out a Soldier 76. He pulled out a Tracer at one point even, just to act as kind of cleanup crew for NZNR's Farah. He pulled out a lot of things, and he was just as good on them as he is on McCree. I mean, this is something we knew that he was going to be capable of, and I did mention that as a Soldier player, he could hold his own against the likes of Rai and the Ichiwap, who are also in this tournament. That was the kind of match that really proved it. And then also pulling out the Genji that did well. I mean, if that was a tale of two Genjis, then Apudo's one did way, way better.
It's absolutely true. Apudo really showing himself off today, and honestly, I'm going to pander to the fans a little bit once more because everyone has been crying out for him in the chat. Everyone wants to see Apudo finally have a good game, and he's done it. He's done it for his fans, I imagine. I really do want to...
Yeah, Fireball have earned their fans after
absolutely.
that game. And that was also a very convincing win as well. I mean, I guess if we just want to go back to trying to contextualize this and unpack what it might mean for their upcoming match against Matchy here, it was a convincing win. In the moments where they were winning really, really hard. The first point take on Volskaya is evidence of that, right? The fact that it took them so long to cap the second point was just down to sheer respawn advantage. And the fact that they took so long, SunSister, to use that respawn advantage to swing the fight back in their favor actually speaks to the strength of Fireball for keeping a trickled fight up on the point for so long, like absurdly long. And then every other match we saw, it was just Fireball from start to finish. We saw it on Ilios. It was a knockout. It was so clean, right? We saw it again on King's Row. It was absolutely devastating, their entire march through. And the fact that it went to time bank with them having triple the time, again, speaks to that. That's like what we saw yesterday with Flash Wolves when they went in with like 4 minutes compared to Matchy's 1.5. So
So just to touch on really quickly, I believe the interview is actually being translated into English.
I think you're actually quite right, yeah.
Yeah, so we may actually be able to catch it.
Someone's got a tank, right? And the point is, we need someone who can play both Reinhardt and Winston, but in our team, no one can do that like perfectly. So this time, I think we're gonna focus more on Winston comp, dive comp. So everybody like says, maybe we can try Rocket to play Winston. Maybe it's better because since me and Rocket, we can play Lucio, right? So maybe we can switch and see the results if it gets better.
好，他的意思是说呢，在他加入这个团队之前，他其实之前是有练过露西欧，然后之前也去打过世界赛。然后呢，在他加入之后，他发现他们队上没有人真的可以玩莱因哈特以及露西欧，莱因哈特以及温斯顿。那因为他们队上的 Rocket 的露西欧也玩得不错，所以他们就是想说，那不然我们来试试看交换，这样子。
那就是到目前为止，他觉得成效如何呢？就是在他转变成露西欧之后，其他人怎么调配他们的角色
？What do you think the effectiveness so far? Like, and how does it perform? And what are the changes to the other team players?
I think we did well since we changed. We need some time to adapt. We scream a lot. Like at first, it's kind of messed up, but yeah, it took some time and it gets better every time.
OK， Zofix 说我们目前表现的都还不错，虽然最一开始我们有做很多练习，那最一开始的时候其实没有表现的这么好，有点混乱，但是现在我们越来越好了。
那可以请他谈谈说，在这个锦标赛打到现在，他们也拿下了第1胜嘛？可以谈谈他们队上的一些优势跟劣势吗
？OK， participating OPC so far, you have got a lot of matches. You've done a lot of matches, and what do you think is the advantages and disadvantages of your team?
Sorry, again, please.
Yeah, participating in the OPC so far, the league. What do you think is the advantage and disadvantage of your team?
Yeah, of your team.
I think advantages of our team is individual skill plays. Like everyone is good players. And you know, I'm sorry. We're kind of positive thinking. We have positive thinking every time that we think of something new. We try to be creative. Every time, the more we scream, the more creativity we have. And disadvantage is maybe sometimes if we lose, like many times in a row, it's like I'm not sure how to say that. It's like emotional, depressed. Yeah, it's a problem.
OK， 好，Zofix 说呢，他觉得他们现在队上的优势就是每个选手都蛮强的，个人实力都蛮强的。然后再来就是他们在经过很多次的练习之后，他们会有很多的创新的想法，然后每个选手都就是有办法去做这样子的改变，这样。那劣势的话呢，就是说如果我们在经过很多次的连败的时候，大家的心情会比较沮丧。
哦，没关系，今天已经拿下了第1胜了。再次感谢 Zofix 接受我们的访问 ，Thank you so much。
So quite interesting there, and sorry we sort of missed the very top of that, but certainly contextualized, I think, a lot of what we've just been saying. And he was sort of speaking a little bit to some of the change-ups they've made in how they're approaching who plays what. And we were talking about the need to kind of unlock their superstar players. They even feel like their strength is just the raw skill of a lot of their players. And like I said, they hit a stride, man. They've really hit a stride in that series. It's a stride that does come with its weaknesses. It may be a little bit inflexible, but I mean, hey, work out what works first and then expand from there. They found what works, and now maybe they can start to fix up those deficiencies in needing a Reinhardt.
Something that might not play too much into their favor off of the back of that is the fact that just because they won with the strategy that they went into with in every single map. I mean, in Ilios and King's Row, they picked the composition and it worked, so they never had to change it. they never were faced with that problem. They were never on the back foot where they had to step back and think, okay, how do we fix this? Do we stick with our team composition and go in a little bit differently or try it again? Or do we mix something up? They never were faced with that challenge. And I feel like it was, and just off the back of what he was saying as well, was that their players are mechanically incredibly good, especially Apudo and NZR, and the DPS players, the ones that you want to be incredibly mechanically good. So they were outclassing SunSister in that sense, and then their composition just worked every single time. Now against Machi, that might not actually be the case, where sometimes they might be on the back foot. In fact, we've seen it in their previous matches that they have been on the back foot and have struggled to answer these questions about how they change their team composition.
Certainly true. But if we can go back to something actually we were talking about yesterday when Machi had their double games, where they had their back-to-back series, we actually feel like one of the biggest weaknesses of Machi is not a lack of individual skill, because you don't get into a tournament like this without having decently skilled players, but they rely on macro over micro, and I would say Fireball have a decent mix of both. They've certainly got the micro skill in spades, and now, like we were saying a moment ago, they're starting to unlock what kind of macro play works for them. So I think that's actually something they can expose in Machi, much like I believe it was Flash Wolves exposed it in Machi just yesterday. So they've seen what works against Machi. Machi have seen a lot of what works against Fireball, but now they've also seen Fireball absolutely dismantle an opponent in SunSister. And I'm trying to remember if Machi have actually played SunSister. I think they have, and I think they did take, they took out a win that day as well. So it looked like a very tight win for Machi, but Machi since then have showed the chinks in that armor. Fireball haven't showed chinks in the armor they just wore. So Machi are going to be taking that into this matchup.
I know, I mean, in Machi's matchup against SunSister, if we're just going to compare the two teams' results against a single team, Machi only struggled on the very first map on Lijiang Tower. After that, and funnily enough, in their intro video, we'll probably see it a little bit later, they speak about how they learned from their mistakes. They struggled a little bit in map 1 and then demolished them the rest of the way.
Learned very quickly.
It's like they learned very quickly how SunSister played and then just used that to their advantage and steamrolled through. So maybe they'll apply something of the same caliber towards Fireball, where they play against them once and then realize what they need to do to win. See if they can adapt to that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I suppose on the other side of that, I mean, Fireball coming in hot off a win, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Hot off a win? Fireball?
I'm sorry, jeez. I'm just trying to use common turns of phrase.
You didn't even play it off as a pun, though.
But I didn't think it was, I wasn't thinking about it as a pun. I'm sorry, not everything I say is tried to be clever. Sometimes it just is, not even trying. No filter. I mean that in like the Snapchat way, not in like the...
No, I get it.
Not in like the I don't think about what I say way, but I probably don't think about what I say enough either.
Start thinking then.
Yeah, there we go.
Right now.
Thinking time. Let's put on the thinking cap. I don't actually have my hat on me. But like I said, coming now off a win, and we talk about how the teams that lose when they've got these back-to-back matches have to kind of spin the mentality around. But this has actually been a big bolstering thing for Fireball. He was just talking in the interview there about how when you get a lot of losses back to back, it can really start to weigh on you. So this has been, I think, much needed for them in light of what he was saying there. And I believe the word he was looking for would be demoralized. It is really demoralizing to have all those losses. But we also did note that those losses have been against the teams that are currently all sitting towards the top 4 of the standings. They're in the top half of this tournament. So now looking to secure it even further up the ladder is Fireball against Machi. And if you are just joining us, that is what we are going to be coming up against next. Let's just do one quick last retrospective for those viewers who are just tuning in now about what we just saw against SunSister and maybe what that says about SunSister moving forward.
Fireball rolled all over SunSister. That's what we saw. SunSister, it looked like they were trying...
A fire hotter than the sun.
Yeah, how hot's the sun?
10,000 degrees.
15,000 on the surface, actually. And it gets hotter as you go towards the middle. But let's talk about what SunSister can do to improve, right? So we saw them trying a lot of different things, and even their attack on King's Row is something that we called respectable. They actually got it all the way to the end with a little bit of time in the time bank. Now, it wasn't enough for them to outright win, but it shows that they can actually provide answers to the challenges ahead of them. And also, during Ilios, we saw them swapping things up, maybe over-swapping a little bit too much. If they can find that balance where they can swap to actually answer what's in front of them, without losing too much ult charge, too much momentum, then I believe that they can actually start taking on some of these teams.
Yeah, and that's going to be what we need to see out of SunSister next week moving forward, as they do have a couple more matches. But in any case, that was that Fibal taking on SunSister, and what is coming up next is Fibal taking on Matchy Esports to try and secure their spot a little bit further up the ladder. They're no longer scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now it's time to see if they can become the cream of the crop. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back.